Okay, team, I have to tell you something. I was thinking about Mercury retrograde in Cancer. What is this like right now? And I was suddenly thinking about Peter Parker and Doctor Strange in Spider Man No Way Home. And once I saw the connection, I kind of couldn't unsee it. Mercury retrograde in Cancer, if it was a movie, I genuinely think it would be this one: Peter Parker and Doctor Strange in Spider Man No Way Home. Why? Peter Parker is in this movie representing Mercury in Cancer. Stay with me. Because Peter Parker is trying to fix something. Something has gone wrong. His life is unraveling. The people he loves are being affected. Everything is becoming more chaotic, more painful, more complicated. And Peter does what so many of us do when we're in emotional pain. He thinks there has to be a way to fix this. That's his first sort of MO. He wants to fix things. There has to be a way to maybe go back. There has to be a way to change what happened without losing everything that I love, that makes me so happy. And isn't that exactly what we do when we are in a state of grief? Isn't that what we do when we are experiencing any kind of disappointment or heartbreak? Isn't that what we do when we are on the edge experiencing rejection, some kind of abandonment with the things that happened to us maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, that we are somehow still trying to solve today? We're trying to solve a problem today by continuously going back, replaying conversations, and rethinking what was said. I think some of us are in this place that we wonder what would happen, what would have happened if I would have made a different decision. If I just said this instead of this, if I had done this, if they had chosen me, if I left that relationship sooner, if I had stayed longer, if I had known then what I know now, who would I be? What would have happened? That is the Mercury retrograde in Cancer right now. Mercury is the mind, the story, the conversation, the way we make sense of our experiences. And Cancer is the memory. Cancer is the past. Cancer brings things from our upbringing. It's the emotional body. And the emotional body remembers everything. Cancer is the place inside of us that remembers everything. Even the things that we say that we have moved on from, it remembers it. And when Mercury goes retrograde there, we are going back into the house of memory. We're reopening rooms. We thought maybe they were closed, or we didn't realize, we had forgotten about them, but they're opening right now. We're finding old boxes, old conversations, old experiences, old memories, a very specific memory that is coming up right now with a very specific feeling. You might find yourself making sense of something all your life. You know that this thing happened, but you didn't really quite process it. Now you're processing it. That's what I think that we are going through right now. You see, we think we're going back there because we're supposed to finally solve something. But what if we're not solving anything? What if this Mercury retrograde isn't about solving the past at all in the moment that we're in right now? What if it's about realizing that some things cannot be solved going back at all? Even if you were to create a story today to battle the thing in the past, you're not going to be able to solve it. And this is where Doctor Strange comes in from the movie. Because to me, Doctor Strange is Pluto. He's the keeper of the underworld, the transformer, the one that is able to take a look at time and transform time. Literally, in the movie, or any kind of Doctor Strange movie, he opens portals. The one who understands that sometimes there's no way forward without a death of some kind. I'm not talking about literal death. I'm talking about the death of a chapter, a memory, experience. But it's deeper than that. Okay? Not necessarily, again, a physical death. It's an ego death. It's the death of an identity, the death of a story, the death of the person you thought you had to be. And Doctor Strange basically looks at Peter and says, there is a way, but you're not going to like it. And I think that's Pluto. Pluto doesn't usually come in and say, don't worry, I found a way for you to keep absolutely everything exactly as it is, and it's still completely going to transform your life. No, that's not how Pluto works. Pluto says, you want this thing? You really want to be this person with this person? You want this dream? You want this situation? Okay. But we have to make a deal. There's a deal. The deal always has to do with the truth of a situation. And it's not subjective. It's actually a very objective point of view. It is the laws of the universe. You cannot keep carrying the same exact story, the same exact identity, the same exact emotional attachment to what happened to you and expect to become somebody new. Something's got to go. If you're listening to this podcast today, I want you to remember that change is not easy. This is perhaps why so many of us are struggling. Change is not easy. This is where Pluto comes in. Something has to go. And you see, for Peter Parker, the deal is devastating because everyone has to forget him. MJ has to forget him. Ned has to forget him. Everyone forgets Peter Parker. But here's the part that I cannot stop thinking about. Peter is the one that does not forget. He remembers everything. He remembers the love, the grief. He remembers Aunt May, MJ. He remembers his relationship to Ned. He remembers who he is and who he was. The memories aren't erased from him, but he can no longer live inside the same story. And I think that's exactly what we're going through in this very exact moment and what we're being asked to understand right now. You see, healing doesn't always mean forgetting. Moving on doesn't always mean that we have to forget. It doesn't mean pretending that something didn't hurt you, the experience didn't impact you. It doesn't mean saying, oh, I'm over it, I don't care anymore. Not at all. Sometimes you remember everything, but there comes a time where you have to make a deal with yourself that the story ends here, that this pain doesn't get to follow you into every new relationship, every new chapter, into everything that you're doing and every room that you enter. Like, this is not what needs to happen, that this pain is allowed to heal. That this rejection that you may have gone through in some form or shape from a relationship, a circumstance, a situation, it doesn't get to walk into every new opportunity with you. That this abandonment, for example, you may have experienced doesn't get to convince you that everyone will eventually leave you again. That this failure doesn't get to become evidence that you will never succeed. Because I think so many of us are walking around trying to solve a pain that has already happened. But you see, there's so much gold in the pain. That pain makes us really get to know ourselves. And sometimes, when we're going through pain, we don't even realize what is happening at the moment. You see, when we're trying to solve a pain that is from the past memory, sometimes we don't realize that we're doing it. Sometimes we don't realize that we want to solve this pain. Maybe you weren't chosen. Maybe you did fail. And now, everywhere you go, though, you are now trying to finally be the chosen one because somebody maybe left you. And now every relationship becomes an opportunity to prove that you're worth staying for. Maybe your story is that somebody made you feel invisible. And now you're exhausting yourself trying to make everyone see you. Just because we fail at something, it doesn't mean that we cannot chase the dream anymore. You see, maybe if you're failing at something and now you're not even chasing that dream anymore, have you realized that maybe you're chasing redemption over and over and over again? Do you see the difference? Because sometimes we think we're moving forward when we're actually still trying to change the ending of something that has happened years ago. We're still Peter Parker standing in front of Doctor Strange saying, there has to be another way. There has to be a way where I can move forward and keep everything. There has to be a way where I can heal without letting go of the story. But you see, Pluto says, no, this is the deal. You don't have to forget what happened. But you do have to turn your back on the version of the story that keeps you emotionally tied to it. And I want to be very clear about what I mean by turning your back on your pain. I don't mean denying it. I absolutely do not mean bypassing it, because I want to be clear that bypassing anything, that is painful. And other people do that to us. That's not what I mean, though. I don't mean pretending that it wasn't real, whatever it is that you have gone through, that it was not reality. I mean reaching a point where you stop turning around to see if it's still following you. Because sometimes that's what we do. We say we're moving forward, but every few steps we look back. Is it still there? Does it still hurt? Do I still feel rejected? Do I still need them to apologize? Do I still need to prove something? Do I still need a different ending? And maybe the deal is that you have to stop looking back. Maybe you have to walk away knowing that there may never be the explanation. You may never get the apology. You may never understand why they did what they did. And you may never get the moment where the person who rejected you suddenly realizes what they've lost. And boy, some of us really do dream about that moment. You may never get to go back, okay, and rescue yourself or the younger version of yourself before the painful thing happened. And I know that's the part nobody wants to hear. I get it. I'm the same way. Because we want our healing to mean that eventually everything makes sense. We want the villain to apologize. We want the person who didn't choose us to regret it. We want the opportunity that rejected us to come back and say we made a mistake. We want the past to validate us before we're willing to leave it. But you see, the universal law is that sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to validate yourself and just keep going and move on. And I think that's what Peter Parker ultimately does in the movie. At the end of the movie of No Way Home, he has the opportunity to tell MJ everything. He walks into that coffee shop prepared to make her remember. He has a little note in his hand. Such an emotional moment in the movie. He sees her. He also sees his friend Ned. Ned is like on his phone, like texting or like looking things up. And then he makes a choice. He doesn't tell her. And that moment is everything, you guys. That moment is everything, because Peter realizes that loving someone doesn't always mean holding on to the version of the story you wanted. Sometimes love is letting the story change. Sometimes healing is letting the story change. Sometimes transformation, okay, is letting yourself change. And I think that's where Mercury retrograde in Cancer becomes so powerful. Because maybe you're not being taken back into the past so that you can live there again. How exhausting. Okay, it's exhausting. Maybe you are being taken back so you can finally see the pattern. The emotional pattern, the thought pattern, the story you've been telling yourself. Maybe you have been saying, nobody chooses me. I always get left behind. I have to fight for everything. People always disappoint me. I can never trust anyone. I have to prove myself. I'm too much. I'm not enough. Whatever your sentence is, Mercury retrograde in Cancer may bring you back to the moment where you first started believing this. This shit story. I'm just going to be honest. It's a shit story. But Pluto isn't interested in keeping you there. Pluto is the part of our chart that wants you to know, are you ready to make the deal? Are you ready to stop trying to change what happened? Are you ready to stop building your future around proving your past wrong? Or are you ready to turn your back on the story even if you still remember every single detail? Because that is the thing about Peter Parker. At the end of the movie, he remembers, but he keeps walking. And maybe, my friends, that's the transformation right now. Not forgetting, not erasing, not pretending, remembering and still choosing not to go back. Maybe the greatest act of your life at this very moment right now isn't finally getting a different ending to the old story. Maybe it's realizing that you don't need one anymore. Maybe you don't need them to choose you. Maybe you don't need them to understand. Maybe you don't need the apology, because you don't need to prove that they were wrong about you. You don't need to keep revisiting the scene of the crime, looking for one more piece of evidence that will finally make everything sense. Maybe the deal is simply this. You keep the experience, you keep the love from the experience, you keep everything that you have learned. But the identity built around that pain, that stays behind now. And you turn your back. You walk away. And yes, you may remember. Peter Parker remembers, but the story no longer owns him in the same way. And maybe that's what this Mercury retrograde in Cancer is asking of us. Can you remember without returning? Can you honor what happened without making it your identity? Because maybe the solution was never hidden somewhere in the past. What if the solution is the deal you make with your future? The moment you finally say, I remember, I know what happened, I know what it cost me, and I'm not going back. Next, we are going to dive into what this means for you, your zodiac sign, based on your rising. Listen to that first. You can always add your sun and moon if you feel that you want to have a bigger picture, a bigger understanding. You can always listen to all three, but the rising sign is going to give you the most accurate picture. I also wanted to welcome every listener from Hawaii. Is that how I say it? Hawaii? Thank you so much for downloading the podcast. We are now represented in 111 different countries in total is where the podcast is being downloaded from. We are being listened and streamed to from 1,649 different cities. It just blows my mind. And I just wanted to say welcome to everybody who is new. My name is Alan Sky. I give you the most important messages. I'm well known for cutting right through the noise. Welcome to the AstroTea fam. To support this show, all of that information is in the show notes below in the description box. You can buy me a coffee. That gets me very far in life. I don't do anything without coffee first thing in the morning. So that is one way that you can support the show. You can also support the show for free. You can just hang out here and subscribe. You can also follow me on my social platforms at TikTok or Instagram at Island Aura Sky, where I give specifically a lot of Venus information, what the relationship dynamics are like in your chart at this time. So if you are interested in that, definitely follow me there. I also share stuff that I do around town here in Austin, Texas on my stories. So if you want to connect with me a little bit further, you definitely want to be on my Instagram or on my TikTok. Sometimes some of you, I know you don't like to be on the social platforms on Instagram and TikTok, but you want to be on one and only, that is YouTube. So on YouTube, you can find me at the AstroTea with Alan Sky. Just type it in and it'll come right up, or you can go into the show notes below. And lastly, if you would like to work with me on a more intimate basis, on a more personal basis, you can book a reading with me, a one-on-one reading about your chart, if that is where you're starting with your birth chart reading, or you can also book me to be your coach. I will coach you through anything in life. I will help you to manifest whatever it is that you need. We will use your chart as a very strong foundation to get you to where you need to go. And all that information is in the show notes below. Thank you for all of your support. Let's dive right into what the deal is for you right now with this Mercury Retrograde in Cancer. For Aries, I believe that right now you are in this place where you're taking a look at the deal with the rules that you inherited. Mercury in Cancer is retrograding through your fourth house, which is the house of home and family, your upbringing, and the past. Your deal is to stop living by a rule you never consciously chose. Maybe your family taught you that you always have to be so strong. Maybe you grew up believing that love has to be earned, that family loyalty means silence, that success looks only one particular way, or that leaving behind an old tradition somehow makes you disloyal to where you came from. Mercury retrograde in your fourth house takes you back to the beginning of that story. Who taught you this? Who told you that this was the way life had to be? And most importantly, is it actually true? I also pulled a tarot card for you guys. The Hierophant card fell out really quickly. So what does the Hierophant mean? The Hierophant says that sometimes the hardest beliefs to release are the ones we don't realize are actually beliefs in the first place. We think that they're facts. We think that's just how the relationship works. That's just how my family is. That's just who I am. But maybe it isn't. And that is the deal for Aries right now. You can honor where you came from without continuing to obey every rule that you inherited. And I believe that Pluto right now is basically the part in your chart where it says, what rule are you still following because you're afraid of who you'd be without it? Taurus, I think this is about a time where you have to stop basically rethinking certain possibilities. Mercury retrograde is moving through your third house of communication, thoughts, conversation, and the stories you repeatedly tell yourself. And your cards right now are the Knight of Cups, the Seven of Cups, the Page of Pentacles, Nine of Wands, and the Devil. And the Page of Pentacles, the Nine of Wands, and the Devil were reversed. So if there's something here that you have been romanticizing, a person, an opportunity, a conversation, or simply the possibility of what something could become. But with the Seven of Cups, I have to ask you this. Are you looking at what's actually happening, or are you falling in love with the potential? The Page of Pentacles brings you back to reality. What is actually being offered? What is actually showing up? What's real? What can you genuinely build from here? Because the 9 of Wands says you're tired, you're holding on to something, and you've held on for it for a while. You've waited, you protected this hope. And perhaps given something once a chance, maybe it was too many chances that you are giving this situation. And the Devil reverse says the deal is freedom. The deal is you have to release a fantasy to recognize what's real. And Pluto is going to ask you this: what possibility are you afraid of to let go? Because letting go would mean finally admitting the story isn't going to end the way that you imagined. That, I believe, is going to be the question you are going to be dealing with in the next coming weeks. For Gemini, this Mercury retrograde is in your second house. This is going to be the house of productivity, money, security, values, and what you believe that you deserve, whether it is physical or on some kind of reward system. And your cards that fell out for you for this particular time frame are the Justice upright and the Ace of Cups reversed. So there is an imbalance here that's ready to be corrected. I think that is what this Mercury retrograde is doing for you. The Ace of Cups reverse can point to an emotional depletion, a disappointment, and pouring so much of your time and effort and energy into something that hasn't been enough for you. It's not leaving you with this feeling that you have accomplished something. It actually is leaving you just kind of empty. Justice comes in and asks you to look at the truth without excuses, okay? Has this actually been fair to you? Maybe you are expecting less than you deserve. Maybe you've been measuring your worth by what someone else was willing to give you, or maybe you are still emotionally attached to a situation where you never really like received the love or the recognition or even the value that you specifically needed. So I believe that the deal here is going to be to stop asking something that depleted you to be the thing that finally proves your, worth. And Pluto is going to ask you, what would you have to walk away from if you truly believed that you deserved more? For Cancer, the deal is to stop expecting the same thing to happen again just because it happened before. It's pretty straightforward for you guys. Because Mercury retrograde is moving through your first house, this is going to be a little bit more personal to you because it is about an experience from your past that specifically changed the way that you move through life now. The kinds of actions you take, the way in which you basically present yourself to the outside world. But maybe this is a little bit deeper because maybe somebody cheated on you. We're taking a look at the 7th house, which has to do with personal relationships. And now you maybe check for the signs that every person is lying. Maybe you were suddenly fired and now you never feel secure at your work. Maybe a friendship ended without a warning and now you're always waiting for people to leave you. Your cards here were the Tower, 10 of Swords, 7 of Pentacles, 4 of Pentacles, and the 9 of Wands. That's a lot. They say that the worst part may already be over. But for whatever reason, you're still bracing yourself for impact as if it's about to happen again. And I think that Pluto is asking you in the next couple of weeks, what would you do differently if you weren't expecting your past to repeat itself? I mean, can you just maybe create space for new experiences to come in that have absolutely nothing to do with the thing that disappointed you and broke your heart? So what would happen here? What could you imagine that could happen that is way more positive and you're not bracing for impact and coming to it from a survival mechanism all the time? A pretty consistent theme for fire signs in particular, but for you in particular, Leo, stop trying to force an answer when you don't have all the information yet. This is going to be the deal, okay? For Leo risings, this Mercury retrograde is moving through your 12th house of hidden fears. This is the subconscious. This is the oceanic, consciousness, the secrets, what happens behind the scenes, but also your connection to God. Your cards are the Wheel of Fortune, the 8 of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands, and the Moon, all upright, the 7 of Cups and the 9 of Pentacles reversed. Maybe you're working really hard towards something, a situation, a relationship, a job, a creative project or major life change, but you still don't know where you stand. So you start imagining every possible outcome. Okay, every possible outcome. Maybe this is kind of haunting you right now. Maybe also the biggest question behind all of this sort of like fear is, did you make the wrong choice? Is there something that you don't know? It's kind of driving you crazy, it looks like. The moon and the seven of cups say you may be filling in the blanks because you don't have all of the answers. And that also is a past memory here for you. The nine of pentacles reverse asks whether your confidence has become too dependent on how the situation turns out. And so I think in the next couple of weeks, Pluto is going to free you here by asking you, if you couldn't control how the story ends, would you still trust yourself enough to keep going? This is going to be the biggest question for you, Leo. It is such a big time for all the Virgos out there. Your deal right now is to stop trying to belong in rooms where you have to become someone else to fit in. Wow, it's a big one for you, Virgo. Mercury Retrograde is moving through your 11th house. This is the house of friendships, of the long-term future, communities, groups, audiences. These are like the goals that you're setting out there in the world, and other people are a part of it. So for you, the cards that fell out in such a nice and neat way, all the cards fell out like in a stack, the way when I was shuffling it. It's really interesting. The cards are the Emperor and the Magician upright, and then we have the Judgment, the Five of Swords, and the Hierophant card reversed. So let's dive into what that means. Maybe you have been trying to get accepted into a certain friend group, a workplace, a community, or an industry, and you started questioning yourself because you don't know quite how you fit in. Maybe you don't quite fit their mold. There's sort of like a pre-existing sort of history amongst that group of people. Maybe you've been following someone else's rules about how you're supposed to act, what you're supposed to say, who you're supposed to be, what is right, what is wrong type of situation, and what you're supposed to say or what you're supposed to do in order for you to like really succeed here. So with the Emperor and the Magician, these are the cards that speak to you having more power than what you realize. You keep forgetting this a lot, Virgo. This comes up for you a lot. Okay, the Judgment is a wake-up call, especially if it is reversed. This is a huge wake-up call, okay? With the Five of Swords and the Hierophant also reversed, winning somebody else's approval is not going to be worth what it's costing you. So Pluto is going to free you here. Regardless, like Pluto, I think over the next several weeks is going to like really free you. What if the rejection that you have been taking personal is actually showing you where you were never meant to shrink yourself to belong? Okay. This is a big one. Belonging is like one of those things where it's very tricky because it depends on the group. But for you specifically right now, you're drawing this memory from a past experience. You're drawing this memory of like, I don't fit the mold. People are not going to like me. This and not the other about this person. And it's all from past experiences. What you're experiencing over the next multiple weeks is going to be an opportunity for you really here to say, I'm moving on from those experiences. And no matter what happens, I'm always going to walk away winning. Okay? I'm always going to walk away winning because I will know more. I will have more depth. I will understand more just by simply being myself. So that is what Pluto is going to help you with here over the next couple of weeks. Libra, this is kind of deep right now. It has a lot of depth. It is very deep. And it has to do with your success in general out there in the world. This deal right now with this Mercury for you is to stop chasing a version of success that has already kind of let you down and disappointed you. Mercury is moving through your 10th house of career, reputation, success, and what you want to be known for, the legacy that you want to leave behind. And here, the cards that fell out, so many cards fell out. Like, let me draw the picture for you. The cards are Judgment, Five of Swords, and the Hierophant reversed. The Magician, the Emperor upright. The Five of Cups, the World, and the High Priestess reversed. Maybe you didn't get the promotion. There was something that happened here where somebody kind of didn't give you the promotion. They told you that you were qualified for the job, but you didn't get the job because they were going in a different direction. You were kind of overqualified for this anyway. You didn't get the promotion, and maybe you were rejected from a job you really, really, really wanted. You wanted this opportunity. Maybe you tried to fit into this particular group, this particular workplace, the industry, where you constantly feel like though you have to prove yourself, or that theme comes up, that pattern comes up. And even though you've moved on, part of you is still looking back and thinking, why didn't they choose me? What went wrong here? But the Magician and the Emperor say that you're being pushed to take a different direction, because there is a different direction that is going to give you so much more. The Five of Cups says that you're still kind of looking at what didn't work out. And you see, there are some things that your intuition is telling you about this situation, and it is correct. While the World card came here also reversed, okay? It says that the chapter may already be complete. And you need to know that. It is complete. There's nothing you can do about it. Later, you will find out. But right now, this has nothing really to do with you. The decision not to take you on into this, territory, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. Pluto is going to come in here and show you, what if the thing that you're still kind of like chewing over and you keep repeating in your mind over and over again was never the destination? It's going to show you that. You have a new destination. And what if the ending you needed to finally create something on your own terms, okay, was this very moment right here? So whatever it is that you're walking into next, over the next multiple weeks, it is about you literally assuming nothing. You walking into rooms and saying to yourself, I absolutely know nothing. I'm also not going to project any of my shit from the past into this because I don't know, this is a new energy. And then watch what happens. There's some magic that will unfold here. You are going to feel so free just doing that. And things will unfold for you. Doors will open up for you, Libra. That's what I'm seeing. Ooh, Scorpio. This is a really good one. Okay, this is a Mercury retrograde that is moving through your 9th house. This is the house traditionally connected to travel, education, spirituality. But really right now, for you guys, for a lot of you out there, this is about your beliefs and your bigger version of yourself for the future, okay? So there is a bigger vision and a bigger version of yourself for the future. Your cards are the Star, the Eight of Wands, and the Two of Wands reversed. All of them are reversed. Here is the deal, all right? Maybe you have been walking into situations where you want more education, you want to learn more. You are somewhere where there is a new experience. You're sort of going back to school in a way. Okay, you could be maybe launching something, or you're trying to write something, or you're putting yourself out there, but you keep finding reasons of why you need to do that. Okay, the Star says that the dream is real. Okay, the dream, the North Star that you have, it is all real. The Eight of Wands says things could move quickly once you say yes to yourself that you're ready. That's the thing. But with the Two of Wands reversed, it says that there's the fear of the unknown. Maybe you basically keeping you inside of what's familiar. Okay, so this is really interesting for you, Scorpio, because I feel like you are in this place where you need to realize that all this stuff that you're trying to learn, all the stuff that you're trying to soak up, really, you already have the knowledge. But you keep saying to yourself, no, I need to learn this. I need to educate myself on this. I need to read this. I need to experience this. I need to make this experience. I need to go through this training in order to understand more. And it's not true. Pluto is going to free this aspect for you. How long are you willing to keep dreaming about this bigger version or this bigger future version of yourself? A life that you're too afraid to actually maybe just choose. Are you choosing this? Because if you're choosing it, you just got to walk into it and start now, right? Like, you don't have to go through all these other experiences and educations and things that you try to learn in order for you to really understand and grasp what you need to do for yourself and your version and your sort of vision of yourself. For Sagittarius, the deal right now is to stop carrying something that was never meant to follow you into the chapter that you're in right now, or this chapter that you're kind of diving into. A lot of you, I think, you've already opened up this chapter. Mercury is retrograding through your 8th house. Now, the 8th house is not like a lighthouse. This is the house of shared money, debt. This is the house of where, how are you intimate with somebody else? What is the intimacy? What does that look like? Well, it also is the house that deals with a lot of big words, trust, grief, and the things that are really, really hard to let go because there's some indebtment or there is sort of like a very big commitment. And so the cards that fell out here for you were the Four of Swords and the Fool. They were upright. And maybe this is a time right now that you guys are realizing you're still kind of recovering from a grieving situation, a breakup, a financial loss, a betrayal, a period of your life that has completely drained you. So you've spent enough time thinking about what happened, what you lost, what you should have done differently. And I think that the message here with the Fool pretty much is it's a completely new beginning. And new beginnings are possible, but you can't step into it while you're constantly looking over your shoulder at the old situations and just kind of rethinking it. It's not that you even, I don't get from these cards or like this Mercury retrograde right now that you are even stewing over something. It's just that you keep looking over your shoulder over the situation. So it's just like a simple, almost like a interruption here with Pluto over the next couple of weeks, where it is going to ask you, what are you afraid of? What do you think is going to be the thing that'll happen if you finally stop thinking about what happened and you just let yourself start over? It really is going to be a very simple thing, but it has a lot of depth. Can you just give yourself permission to start over? I mean, that's really what it is for a lot of you, okay? Just, it's a choice. And I think that is what Pluto is bringing in. Capricorn, what a time of truly liberating yourself, because I think that the deal has already started for many of you. At least that's the sense that I'm getting with this Mercury retrograde for you when I'm taking a look at your chart. It is going through your 7th house of relationships, dating, marriage, business partnerships, okay? Any kind of deals with a particular person. And it's one-on-one, okay? It's the people that sit at your dinner table. Who do you have dinner with? Those are the types of people that the 7th house can bring in. And then it covers a lot of things like your needs, okay? How your needs are being met. And I think that the deal right now for you is to stop waiting for particular people to become who you hoped that they would be. There is this realization that you have been repeating this. The cards that fell out here for you are the Three of Wands reversed and a Page of Wands upright. Maybe you have been waiting for someone to commit, to change, to come back, to make a decision, to maybe choose you. And you finally give yourself a clear answer with this Mercury retrograde, because you had an idea of where this relationship was supposed to go, but it hasn't moved forward in the way that you expected it. And I think that is the realization right now. The Page of Wands here is a message that there may be a new person, a new connection, or that person is coming in now. So it's a simply completely different way of moving forward, but you have to basically stop staring at the door that hasn't opened. There's a door here. It's shut. Okay? And I don't even necessarily think that the universe is shutting it. I think that you shut it. I think you're the person that put the locks on. So Pluto is going to come in over the next several weeks of basically liberating you of who you could meet. And that person is going to come in. Who could you meet? Who could you become with this person? Story is completely different. Because if you stop waiting for someone else to choose you and you chose the person that's also choosing you back, and like it just happens, it's natural and it's organic versus like you just waiting for this other person to choose you. Two different scenarios. Okay, two different kind of relationships. One, you have to wait for this person to choose you. Another person that just chooses you naturally back. Okay, I hope that wasn't too confusing, but these are like two different stories, and you will get very crystal clear on what story you would like to be a part of. And that's what Pluto is bringing in. Aquarius, I just want to start out by saying I really love this time for you. And the reason why I love this time for you is because you are going to be in this place where you are really going to be focusing on making yourself happy. I think a lot of you are realizing that you need to stop pretending that you're okay with a daily life where things are just being thrown at you 24/7, and you are just worrying about it too much, and you're going to start shifting towards happiness and the definition of happiness, or coming back to like home base when it comes to the subject of happiness. I think a lot of you are going to be in this place where you realize with Mercury moving through your sixth house of work, routines, habits, and everyday life, that it's time now to focus on yourself and fill your cup. Now, the cards that fell out are the Star and the Two of Cups upright. Then we have the Three of Cups, the Seven of Swords reversed, and the Sun upright. So, what does this mean? Let's make it short. Because you may have been feeling disconnected at work, lonely in your everyday life. There's a lot of responsibilities here. Or you're simply going through the motions. But these cards show, man, there's a new connection that's possible here to the kind of day that you want to have, but also support and friendship and happiness becoming available to you at the same time. Because maybe a part of you feels like you're going through this alone, but you don't have to. Now, the Seven of Swords reverse says that you first have to be honest about what's not really working. There's something still in the day-to-day that you have to become really honest about. Maybe you are staying in your job that you hate. Maybe you're spending time with people you don't trust. This can be a big one with the Seven of Swords, okay? You could be spending time with people you don't trust, or you're telling yourself you're fine when you're actually craving more connection and joy. So I think that Pluto is going to ask you here, what truth about your everyday life do you already know, but you keep avoiding it because admitting it would mean that you have to change something, and maybe that change you are dreading? So Pluto is going to come and liberate that. Happiness is all I have to say here for you. Oh, Pisces, what a very interesting year this has been for you. I think that right now the deal that you're making with Pluto is to stop investing. Okay, maybe you're investing into some people or something particular, and you keep investing into it because you feel like, well, you already invested so much, so you might as well just keep going. But why does this come up? Well, Mercury retrograde in Cancer is moving through your fifth house of dating. This is romance. This is creativity of some sort, like the things that really make your heart come alive. It can also deal with your children. So for you, this is going to be a very interesting time. First of all, I just want to say that a lot of the Pisces are dealing with sort of like the aftermath of relationship letdowns. That is something, maybe you've been going through it. You've been going through it. Some of you have really been going through it. And so you've been waiting for a particular situation or a relationship to maybe finally become something else, or Maybe you've poured for months and years into people and these creative projects that are attached to it, but it no longer excites you. So you've been trying maybe so hard to make a very particular thing work simply because you can't stand the idea that all of this time and the energy you gave to it might have been for nothing. But the thing is that it's not that, okay? The Ten of Swords says something may have already reached its ending, and sometimes continuing to invest into it doesn't change the outcome. It's just a delay. And you just keep doing it. But it wasn't also all for nothing, because it taught you some very, very valuable things for this next sort of chapter that could be waiting around the corner for you. But you can't really see it unless you're willing to become free and choose something else. So Pluto is going to really help you here to be in this place where you can ask yourself, if you knew for certain that this wasn't going to turn out the way that you hoped, how much longer would you keep waiting? If you knew for certain it was not going to work out the way that you wanted it, how much longer would you wait? You wouldn't wait a second. You would just move on. You would close this chapter, okay? And that's what I think is really important for you to realize. Sometimes, we go through experiences that they need an ending. And it's time for you, Pisces, to just kind of shut this door and create space for a new chapter and a new door. And it's okay. Whatever has happened, okay? It is okay, because you will be more than okay. I think that Pluto is going to bring you this very big realization. You will walk away from this Mercury retrograde feeling really liberated, really free, completely different energy once this is over for you. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for listening. I am just so proud of the community that we're building around here. Thank you so much. Thank you for following, supporting, liking, subscribing, listening, and I will see you in the next episode.